Well, good morning, everyone. This is Jamie Silver with Herff Jones Yearbooks, and welcome to the December episode of the Yearbook Podcast. Today, we're going to jump right in. We've got a couple of reminders and updates, as well as two presentations to share with you. And by the way, the notes below here, you will see the time in which those presentations start. If you want to come back to those at a later time, one of them is 30 minutes long, so you can jump into that another day if you'd like. But to get things started, just a couple of reminders and updates. You've received an email from us regarding the automatic PDF process when you go to submit pages. Just a reminder, to expedite that submission process, what we've done is we've removed that automatic high-res PDF generation in order to just make that process more streamlined for you. So, of course, we always encourage you to review the high-res PDF. You can do that anytime. You can pull that file as many times as you'd like. But this way, when you're all done with that and you're ready to submit, it won't have you do it again and just make that process a little bit slower. So please enjoy that expedited submission process as you submit pages. Next one is for the Mac users listening, myself included. Recently, Apple introduced a new version of Safari. It's version 11.0.1. And in doing so, it did create a few compatibility issues with InDesign. These are things we're working on. They'll be taken care of soon, but in the meantime, I just wanted to mention it to you. I think you've received an email from us, but just a reminder, in the meantime, feel free to use any other browser, right? So Firefox, Microsoft Explorer, Internet Explorer that is, and the most current version of Adobe Flash needs to be installed for that browser, but any of those should work fine for now. If you prefer Safari, we should have that resolved soon so you can go back to it, but in the meantime, rather than creating delays or headaches, I would just encourage you to use any other browser but Safari for now. Okay, for those InDesign users, and there are not many of us left, but for those listening who use InDesign instead of eDesign, we do have a library of new tutorials, including video tutorials that cover all the Herff Jones extensions, including the new and updated index builder and all those steps. So when it comes time to building the index, those will be helpful. So if that's something you're interested in, please let me know. I can shoot you an email with that, and you can review it whenever the time is convenient for you. Now, for hopefully everybody listening to the podcast, the next topic is the parent email campaigns. And I'm going to pull up an example of that while we talk here. For those of you who have been listening to the podcast on a more regular basis, you may remember me sharing Hampshire High School as just a reference point, an example of the parent emails. With their permission, I continue to share the results to show you how it's working and how it could work for you. So for the month of November, these are the 3 emails that went out to all schools who took advantage of this parent email program. These are the ones that went to Hampshire. You can see with their logo at the top. And November was an odd month. You know, typically I say it's once a month, but we did send 3 this month to time into the holiday and all that. So those are the 3 went out. The results for Hampshire High School, which there was a drum roll to share with you, they had 119 online purchases. So that means 119 people clicked these emails during the month of November and purchased that book that hadn't prior. So November was a great month for Hampshire High School. I hope the results have been similar for you if you're using this program as well. This program is available and completely free to anyone who's interested. So please do let me know. We can set this up for your school. It's completely free to you and the parents. We even absorb the credit card fees, the Visa, MasterCard charge per transaction. So this program is great. It takes a lot of work off your shoulders. As a side note, most recently, on November 28th, just last week, we did also donate $1 to St. Jude's for every purchase. So that was kind of a nice way to make a donation on your behalf for any purchases during the month of November. Okay, that is the parent email campaign. Again, if you have any questions, please do let me know, because I'd love to set that up for you and get you take advantage of that. It's a great free program. Now, for today's presentations, we have 2 of them. One of them is just a helpful and it's short. It's a 4-minute video I found on YouTube on iPhone, really smartphone photography, just a couple of tips and tricks. I'm going to share that first with you. The second one is the second in a series of the new presentations that we've been sharing that were recorded at Kempa, a local press day recently. And for this week, we're going to be sharing, the topic of the presentation is alternative story forms. And it's taught by Beth Marshall from Richmond-Burton High School. She advises the yearbook there at Richmond-Burton. She does a great job, and she shares a lot of great tips and tricks on this topic. So I do want to share that one. That one is 32 minutes long. It's really helpful. Like I said, in the notes below, I'll include a time in which that starts here, so you can watch that perhaps at a later date when you have more time. But please feel free to share with your yearbook students, staff, whoever's helping you on the yearbook. Some great tips in there. So to get started, I'm going to start with the YouTube video on iPhone, iPad, smartphone photography, and then we'll jump right into Mrs. Marshall's. Before I get into that, I just wanted to wish you, I know it's early December here, but the month is going to fly by quickly. From my family to yours, I want to wish you a happy holidays. I hope you have a wonderful time, good downtime with family and friends, and I look forward to seeing you soon at school. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Hi, welcome along. Paul here from Photo Genius. Today I've got some great tips for you if you love taking pictures with your iPhone. Now the reality is that these days more photos are taken on mobile devices like smartphones than dedicated cameras. A couple of years back I made a trip to New York and I took along with me a GoPro, a Fujifilm X100S, a Nikon D300, and I took some great photos with all of these. But if I'm honest, I took more photos on the iPhone than all of these put together. Why would that be? Well, the iPhone is the camera that's in my pocket. Now taking a picture of a moving subject can be quite tricky, but it needn't be. All you need to do is do what the professionals do, and this technique is called panning. It basically means that you are moving the camera with your subject. So for example, if I'm taking a picture of somebody on a cycle, cycling from my left to my right, what I need to do is frame them up in the iPhone here and follow them. Remembering that if they start to move quicker, you need to react quicker. If they slow down, you need to slow down. As long as you keep the camera and the subject working together, then there's no reason why you shouldn't get a great shot. And furthermore, and this is a great tip, if you hold your camera like this with two hands, keep your finger on the volume button, hold it down as you pan. The iPhone will take a burst of photos. Amongst those photos, you'll probably get some misses, some pictures that didn't work. But what we're looking for here is one great shot. And this is a great technique. Now when taking photos outside, photographers use polarizing filters like this one here to reduce glare and reflections, as well as give more saturated colors to your image. I'm talking here about more richer blue skies, more detail in the clouds, and nice lush greens. Now not everybody has a polarizing filter in their pocket, but there's a good chance you might have sunglasses with polarized lenses. They will give the same effect. Rotate the lenses until you get the best result. Now to avoid blurry photos, hold your iPhone with two hands and consider using the volume button on the top to take the shot. My next tip is less about taking photos and more about managing your images, and that is simply to heart your photos. So when I have a spare moment, I go through my camera roll to see what I've taken. When I find an image I particularly like, I click on the heart icon and then continue scrolling through the images again, clicking the heart icon whenever I find any images that stand out. Now when I go back to albums, all I need to do is open the favourites folder to find my best photos all in one place, ready for editing, posting on Instagram or sharing with friends. And finally, to take your images up to the next level, consider editing your images. Here we can see a before and after image. The edit here was all done on my iPhone using a free app that I highly recommend. It's called Snapseed. So I absolutely love Snapseed. It's very, very easy to use. It's also free. And this is a 1-minute edit. Let's show you how quick and easy you can do an edit. Here we have a very simple photo of some trees. And the first thing I'm going to do is tune the image, increase the ambience, which brings out the color and the richness in the sky. Then I'm going to move on to sharpening, which again is going to bring out the detail in the sky, particularly in the clouds. Next I want to crop in a little bit tighter on the trees, so I'm using the crop tool, square format, and I'm happy with this, so I'm just going to round it off now with a nice frame. You can adjust the size of the frame very easily, and that's it, a very quick 1-minute edit. So thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this short video and you've picked up some great tips for taking photos with your iPhone. If you enjoyed the video, give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and of course you can leave your comments below. Also check out the links below where we will link our Instagram page and our website so you can check out some of our photos. I hope to see you again soon. See ya.
So I hope you found that helpful. The photo gear is wonderful if you have it, but the reality is, as he said, the iPhone or whatever version of the smartphone you have, it's always in your pocket. So I loved his examples of, using the tools that are built into the phone, some free apps, and even the sunglasses there. That's brilliant. We all have glasses. Many of them are polarized and ready to help get those saturated colors and remove some of the reflections. So great little tip. Okay, so in closing, I'm going to share this presentation by Mrs. Marshall from Richmond-Burton. Again, enjoy, and look forward to talking to you soon. Thank you.
Okay. So, yeah, we're trying to do a couple different things. Luckily, we're pretty good, at least. We've gotten a good response with our book. Yearbook. So with our yearbook, we view it as, it's a book. It's a history book. And so you should have stories in it about the year. And, we're trying to get away from, we're a family. No kidding. So what are some different ways that you can tell stories? So the alternative story format is something, because the other thing I'm finding, especially with like all the new staff this year, the thought of writing is like terrifying them. So I'm like, okay, guys, we're going to do a humans a yearbook, and you're going to write an article about that person. And it's like cricket. I'm like, okay, how about a caption? Like, okay, we can do that. So that's gonna be the first thing that we put on our snow site is our picture and our little humans of RB publications, because that sounds fancier. Because we have our snow site that soon will be out. We have our Snapchat. What is a snow site? Yeah. School newspaper online. They're actually here presenting, so that you can buy a subscription from them. And then I know that Niles West News uses it, Kempa uses it, lots of schools, Lake Zurich uses it. So that way we don't have to know how to make all that stuff. You can just kind of plug and chug. So you can decide on your formats and setting things up. So yeah, we're learning how to do those things. And again, you have the alternative story formats on there as well. No, it's kind of like WordPress. Okay. So it's an online program. So a lot of their things it's like WordPress, but it's amped up a little bit more so students can use it to put their info out there. Because I know last year I attempted to devise a newspaper club. Mm-hmm. Clubs don't work because it's like, okay, who's going to stay after? Who's going to make it? We made one issue. So by doing something online, you can get your stuff out there faster. So with the alternative story formats, again, what are some ways? Because some kids don't like to read, and as an English teacher, that makes me sad. But we want people to look through our books, and they will get intimidated if all they see are blocks of text. Mm-hmm. When I was at the last JEA conference, there are some schools that are even almost getting rid of their copy, which I'm like, what? Yeah. No. But doing the alternative story format kind of helps break things up, make it a little bit easier. So the alternatives, keep in mind that all your stories don't have to just be text. You can break things up. You want to draw them in with other elements. You can use blurbs, quote blocks, photo captions, polls, maps, text boxes, all these different kind of elements, things that you would even find like on a website. You can put that stuff in your book. And a lot of times, sometimes the best stories are told with only photos or graphics. So you don't have to write a thing about it. Are you cutting the story? No, but maybe. So what we try to do as a staff is before we even start on like a yearbook spread, you come with what are the different stories I want to tell on the page, then what's the best way to tell that story. So for one of them, obviously it's going to be the copy, but maybe I want to do a feature on our soccer team isn't as good as Johnsburg, so when we win it, we're really excited. And so a couple years ago, what the boys did is every time they won, they took a locker room selfie. Thankfully they were appropriate, and we could use them in the book. But we had a little mod where it's like, we won 6 games. Just go with it. My son's he's a goalie on the team, and he tries, and it's hard to be the goalie when your team's not very good. So now that's going to be out on forever. Okay, so back to this. So you want to keep your readers. So what they say is that basically your readers maintain 30% or more information with non-narrative information. So if you look at it and you have images and things with it, instead of just the text, people are going to recall things better. So these are some basic storytelling alternatives. I also have this handout that I passed out to some of the kids already. Here. Take some extras. So ways that we can do this, one is called a charticle. All it is it's a chart, And you use that in place of an article, and you have your information to compare and contrast things. You can be selective, again, decide what's going to be important, what you're going to leave in. So here are some from other schools. So they talked about water and ways that you can save water. So instead of just writing a paragraph on how to save water, which no one's going to read, you might get somebody to read this. Because you break it down, shorter text, images with it. It's also a really nice way, this is going to help you include students in your book. Okay, so you don't have them in the dominant photo, but you want to tell part of the story. I can put a couple images in there. This one's top 5 fun and games. So again, this is something that you could put in the book, or you could put in your newspaper, or you could put online. And a lot of these things can just kind of be interchanged. Then you have one where, again, it's just the text, but by breaking it up visually, by having the bigger numbers, having the lines, again, your readers are going to feel like, okay, I can read this. This is doable. It's more reader friendly. Timelines, you can have multiple plot points, long period of time, short period of time, bits of information presented in time, key events, chronological order. Some of the larger schools have some different things. This is like a schedule. So over the next 4 years, there's going to be 4 new medical courses available. This is going to be a lot more interesting to look at than, again, paragraph after paragraph. So in this year, this is what the class is with bullets. Oh, it's easier. And it's not that you're dumbing it down, you're just trying to make your information more accessible to your audience. So some schools have chronological books. These are the ones that have like huge staffs, and they have a lot, and their schools are big enough that they have enough going on that they can write about every week in a whole spread and do things. So they have it broken down where here's different events during that week, another week, another week. So it all kind of works together. Obviously, they're one of the ones that does a spring release, and then they have their fall. So you have a caption, the image, so you're telling your story. And again, but you have it varied, so they don't all look the same. You're placing your pictures in different places, different sizes, but obviously the numbers are going to be the same, your font size is going to be the same, but then you can kind of pick and choose what you're going to look at. Info boxes or fast facts. Again, listing your 5 W's and your H in a bulleted list. Again, you can add information, how to tell where to get there, how to find it, more information about a subject, maybe a profile, highlights, additional resources, scores or schedules, related trivia or statistics. So 2 years ago, this is the first time that we kind of actually put our book out to be critiqued, and we got some good response. And so like, yes. So we had a super long theme. What you don't know about us could fill this book, which was an awesome idea because there's so many things we could pull from it. So for our spin-offs throughout the book, we could do all these different things. Know the new movie. So it was all about Star Wars: The Force Awakens. So we had different things like, did you see it? Where did you see it? Here's 2 kids that saw it. And then we even have like a music thing down here. So we kind of put a couple different things on there. So instead of writing a paragraph, people went to Star Wars. Whoop-de-doo. So this way, you've got your picture, you've got some people, it makes it more interesting, draws them in, you get more kids in your book. We had one where the foods class, this was just part of their spread. Do you know what's on the menu? So these are things they made in their class. Know what's trendy? So again, we have our pictures of the kids. This one just didn't want to cooperate. It actually has a full picture, it's just not there. But again, so we did our trends that way. How to, or a step-by-step guide for something. It could be a bulleted list, choosing the right college, putting steps in chronological order or logical order. So we've got this one from Missouri where 8 ways to tie a scarf. Ooh. This was probably not necessarily, I don't know if this was necessarily in their yearbook. It was probably more of a news magazine thing, but it could have, depending on how big their book was, it could have been as well. Scarves were a big thing. How to swim the butterfly, 4 things to remember. So you have the student who actually is swimming, then you've got some things about it. Give a ton to be the one. This is a much better way to maybe talk about your blood drive. So instead of just having the picture of the kid with the needle in their arm and like, they gave blood. It was scary. I almost passed out, but I missed the rest of the day. So, you know, that's why kids get blood. So here they, so again, you can give your facts. They did, so give tons, so they had 165 donors, which means this many lives were saved, and then it gives a little bit of a step thing. So it's enough information, you can still include it, but you don't have to write a huge story, but it's enough. Here's something we did, here's the basic facts, and then you can move on. One that we did last year in our book, and this student is actually here today, she was thrilled when she saw this. We did a how-to on step-by-step instructions on how to do something or create something. Getting older, 3 quick steps to help you age. So she's a sophomore, but she had to play an 80-year-old woman in the play. So this was just, instead of just having the picture of them drawing age lines on Ellie, we went through the steps. And so this was part of our spread on the fall play, because it was something a little bit interesting, different, add something to it. Maps. Be careful with maps. Try to make sure if you're going to use a map for something that there's a purpose, that it's going to help the story. It's not going to make it more confusing. This one is a really good example where they talked about common Missouri schools. So you have the state, but you can still read where things are, what's going on. They talk about the colleges. So visually it's a little bit easier. And again, that's more accessible than a paragraph or 5 paragraphs. So you can use a map. The United States, we've fallen into a trap, and I'm trying to get them away from it, where our school's small enough that you can tell where everybody goes next year. So it's the senior map. We need a better way to do it, because when you put all the points on the map, everybody goes to Wisconsin, or they're in Illinois, and then maybe somebody's out here in California, but when you have that big map, yeah, you have to make sure that it's visually appealing and your reader knows where to go. Where are your eyes going to be drawn? So for this one, we have these specific schools here, and then they go into some more of the details about them over there, but it's like, okay, now I get it. It's a little bit easier to read. Quote collections, great way to get more people in your book. Have a quote, ask a question, tie it to your theme, use one of your spin-offs, and go from there. Make sure it's open-ended, so you can actually do something if you want to ask the same question for everyone. Other option could be sample a significant person's opinion on several topics. And again, these are things that you can put in your newspaper, you can put in your other stuff too. So we did, again, best theme ever, know the numbers. So this is a year that we didn't have any snow. We had 0 snow. Well, we had snow, but it wasn't until April. So we didn't have any snow days. So that was kind of, yeah. In 2016, we had snow on April 2nd. Yeah.
April snow showers.
Yep. And our average temperatures, so we kind of talked about, hey, what was good about not having snow days? What was bad? And then we made sure that we went ahead and we pulled a kid from each grade. Do your little cutout. And then this one, when we did a polling, and if we have time, we'll go into polling as well. We say how many kids it was. We use SurveyMonkey. We're finding out that it's not always as effective as we'd like to kind of survey the students and get answers. But we did this, so it was here's our winter poll. So we just asked them, what was your favorite winter activity? And so the kids talked about different things. So we have snowmobiling, attending Winterfest, that's up in Lake Geneva. This is the year that cars went through the ice, and we had kids that were there. Yeah, because they parked where they shouldn't. They go to Wilmot, because that's what you do. Half the kids work there. Going ice fishing, and then, okay, what's better, skiboarding or snowboarding? What's the best hot chocolate? So we just kind of pulled some different things, throw them on there.
I like how they read that.
Yeah. Best coffee. Okay. So you guys see how you can just kind of ask a question, but you can make it look more interesting, and it's just going to add another layer of content and coverage on your page because people like visual variety. This is a really cool one that they did. Sarah Nichols. So what she did at her school, so pointers from shooters. So you got your little ha ha ha. And so they have their tips on how to play a great game. So they have action shots of the players. They've got their little quote. It's super cute. Last year we did one with foreign families. Yeah, we live in Richmond. We're not very diverse. So the fact that we have some kids that are bilingual or multilingual, we decided to do something on that. So we told short stories about our student body. So we have our family pictures, and then we have little details about each one, a little bit of an interview. So that takes up a little bit of space again instead of one big chunk. Yes.
Is that yours? This is yours?
Yes.
We just started doing that this year.
Yeah, that's our. Yeah.
It's like saying freshman or sophomore.
Yep. Takes up less space. Easier to read.
It's cleaner too.
Yeah. You can annotate a photo or diagram, provide additional information about what's in the photograph, cost of a prom outfit. We are super proud of this. Okay, so here's what happened. We wanted to do our trend spread. And this happens in your book. You're like, so you ask different people to come to school and wear things. They don't come, or they forget, or it just doesn't work. So 2 of my girls last year were like, you know what? We do this for fun. I'm like, what? So they lay out clothes. So we got a piece of white Boettcher paper, and they brought in their outfits. So like, okay, these are the things that were trendy from last year. We stood up above the white paper. They laid all the things out. Boom, fashion spread.
I love that they cut the jeans.
Yeah. And then, we numbered it. So it was another way. And it's something that you'll see like in different magazines and stuff. And so it really, honestly, it didn't take that long to do. So, a piece of white paper on the floor, people. Get your angle. It's that simple. And yeah, did we want to try to get faces? Sure, that'd be great to get as many people as you can. But sometimes if it doesn't work, plan B.
Plus it's something different because there's like a lot of faces.
Right, yeah, so you can do it in a different way. And what we could have done if we had more time is maybe even what you could do is, so I have it labeled, but maybe with it, instead of just identifying it, I could have a quote from a kid. So have a quote from a kid like, where do you buy this stuff? How long have you had this? Or I have this in every color, or whatever. You can find a way to kind of tie some kids in to that same thing. Yeah, and then we tried to do a thing on the tech takeover, talking about the different ear pods that were coming out and the VR. So again, we have our quotes from kids, and then we have the objects, because sometimes it's just, you gotta do what you gotta do, man. Like whatever it takes. So don't let your story be limited because it won't fall into a specific format. Mix and match to present information in the friendliest ways for your readers. The mods are definitely something that's popping up more. So for us, again, this was the year. We have a WISE team. I don't know if John, you guys have one too. Okay, so we usually dominate in WISE, and this was the year that we didn't, and we got the wild card, and hearts were broken, dreams were crushed, tears were shed. So it turned out,
What's WISE?
WISE is Worldwide Youth Science and Engineering, but basically, you take tests. You compete by taking tests. So these kids study on their own to take their tests. So this was a year that they didn't place high enough in their sectional, so we weren't going to go to state, which was, like I said, life-altering, but we got the wild card. So that's what we also included. So we did a short little thing on what happened. So it turned out, so like they're saying, each math test had 30 questions. So you have your short story that explains it. Our scores were high enough that they were higher than any of the other competitions in the state, so that's why they got to go. So even though they placed 3rd instead of 2nd, they were still higher than a lot of the ones from other schools, so they got to go. Crisis averted. But then we have, again, kids want to know, well, what are they doing? You're actually taking tests in bio, chem, computers, English, graphics, and math. You have to be in more than one. So how many people are in each different subject? So we kind of have that. And then each WISE member completes in 2 subjects. And then we have the test questions. So the number of questions and then the average scores that you usually have. So it was just another nice way. We use PictoChart. It's free to make it. And then what we also made sure is we got our hex codes. So the colors of our graphics match the colors of the theme of the book. So you only have those colors. That's it.
When you use PictoChart, how do you set up the dimensions to begin with? Do you know the exact size that you want it to be on the page? Because sometimes our kids will make those, and then when they go to place them, they either get too squashy or they get too stretched.
Yeah, we had to kind of figure out, this one took a couple tries.
Okay.
So it's kind of trial and error. But figuring out your dimensions is probably the best way.
Know your page.
Yes, and I know that one of the things that's changing with us this year, Herf Jones calls it Square One. It's a Swiss grid, so we have more grids to do more mods, and we'll be able to plan it out a little bit better, like have a clear idea of what the dimensions are. So yeah, know your dimensions, but that works. And then we have our little, this was on a page, I didn't put the whole wrestling page, but what you don't know about wrestling. So we had a wrestler on staff, so he could tell us these things, but also other kids could too. Why the singlets? You know, we want to know. How do you win? So it kind of just does a quick little, you know, here's just a little bit extra piece of information. If you want to read it, if you know about wrestling, good for you. But if you don't, here's just something else you can kind of look at. We have siblings. Okay, so 2 years ago, we did the soccer sisters. And we had, you know, so what was the, like having your sister on the team? We had the action shots. So again, we asked them some different questions. And then with the brothers, because not all guys don't talk, but sometimes it's harder to get quotes from male athletes. So we decided with these guys, we would just use their stats. So we had our sophomore and our, well, he graduated. So we've got these two guys, but yeah, so how long they've been running, favorite shoes, personal best, and how they both run track and cross country. So it was just something different to kind of try, so and get it, instead of just having your block of copy where you might have, these brothers run together, somebody's gonna look at that and go, oh, cool, and then they can move on. The other thing that we do is, so this was last year, our theme was moving forward, and so then for all of our spin-offs, the one spin-off that we did well was in our portraits or people pages, we did looking forward. So we did all these lookalikes. So in every section, so we have, and they could be from different, like these two are from the same grade, but we have like staff members. We have a student last year, she looks like the band director and people mistake her for the band director. So they're on the page together. So like we did these little spin-offs. So instead of just having all your mug shots, you can use some of that space to tell a story. So we have that, and then we've got our little, what's your favorite class? We have some details there. And then we also kind of put in, we did a looking past challenges. So this was a student where she had been homeschooled and now she's in high school. And so what was it like? So we're kind of doing a little feature within, bless you, within our portrait section. Again, from 2 years ago, when we did our what you don't know about the gear. So here's our baseball player. So we got something extra on, over on the side. 2 years ago, when we did what you don't know about us, we used face, and now I can't remember how we had it. But so we did this face-off because we have all these twins in the building. And so every grade, and actually seniors, we had multiples, we had triplets. So we did the face-off. So we've got, here's the two boys, and there's Ethan and Zach. Words that describe them, what are things that are similar? So how they're different, how they're similar. And so what you don't know about one of your class twins. And then we did this in every grade. So you pick an alternative story and then you just keep using it. But again, it helps break up the page so you just don't have a sea of faces. What?
Thin face, round face.
Yes.
And love being twins.
Yeah, they do. But it takes a while to like figure them out. I have triplets. I have 2 of the triplets in class this year. And you can't tell these boys apart. You can't. It's scary.
Put little stickers on them.
I know. Well, when my husband was little, what their parents did for their church shoes is one had one had brown and one had black shoelaces. So when they go to church, people look at their feet and go, hey, John. Hey, Jay. Fun fact. We also, so that year, we did in the face of. So we wanted to put some things. So we had a kid who that year had cystic fibrosis, but he was one of our really good runners. So here's a short little story on Brad.
Yeah, like how is he not freezing?
I know.
Is that Photoshop?
No. It took a couple tries to like get him back outside. So yeah, so we have just the information. So again, this is a place that you definitely want to be using alternative copy is on your portrait pages. Don't just have faces. Put something in there.
our pictures at registration.
Well, these look really nice. We'll see how this year's turn out because kids stopped showing up for senior portraits. So now it's first day.
That's
So
that's the senior portraits?
yes. Yeah, so that's why they look.
No, we have regular pictures for our senior pictures.
That's what we're now switching to because people aren't showing up. But they said that they would still retouch them. So we'll see how that goes this year. I know. This one. That's my guy. Okay. You might know some of them. And I think there's some Johnsburg guys on there too. All right, so this is a couple years ago. There's our locker room selfie. See, I put it there. Yeah, there's Coach Decal. Yeah, and there's Gavin and Jack. So we have our story because again, our guys have a really good heart, but we have a really hard time because unfortunately in Richmond, football is king. So to get kids to play soccer, we just don't have as many kids come out. So it's more challenging. So this year, the big thing was that was the year that we beat BC, and Coach DeCallaway had just had his son, so his wife had their son. He was not there for that game when we won. It was a huge thing. This was right after the game.
I love reaction photos.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So you have those photos, and then we have like the other fun things. Like we had so that year they were doing these locker room selfies, and like I said, thankfully they were appropriate, and I could put them in the book, and we had like the magnifying glass to make sure. But it was something extra to add to the page because as you can see, we didn't have a lot of copy for it because there wasn't much to talk about. And not that, and we didn't deny that they didn't have a winning season, but you try to focus on the positive. So hey, this was one of our highlights in a really hard season. We beat these guys. And then we did another, so at that point, this was when Reed was a sophomore and he was the varsity goalie and he was replacing this amazing kid that had just graduated. And so it's like, how are you going to step up and be Luis? Because you're not, but he's done. No. Luis and Reed. That's all I gotta say. Okay, so yeah, I mean, Luis was phenomenal and Reed has done very well, but yeah. So that year, that's why they have big cleats to fill.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
And then they did a couple extra little pictures. I have more. Okay, so polls. If you guys want to talk about how to do polling, we can. We don't have to. But the thing with the polls is it's another way to kind of insert more coverage. Yeah, math is really hard. Polls are something that you want to do on a lot of your academic pages because, let's be honest, you don't have enough to say.
Well, for us, it's a little different actually because since we're
Yeah.
expeditionary learning, we do expeditions. So like we have the conflict expeditions. So we do a lot of things.
So you guys have cool stuff.
Yeah, so we go out and we do a lot of project-based stuff. Like our final last year for environmental science, we created
I made a
environmental
coloring book.
game boards and like children's books and stuff
Cool.
like that.
Oh.
Like it was so.
Take a test.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
I worked 24 hours straight.
Yeah.
but you look at those things and how can you do that in alternative copy?
Mm-hmm.
How could you tell that story? So, yeah, you're probably not the only one that worked for 24 hours straight.
No, we all like.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you could do like your timeline, like we really started working at this point, but then here's how it's due at this time, and we were working up to the minute to get this done.
Yeah. Especially when your teacher tells you last minute, you know what? Actually, I was reviewing this and it doesn't follow the criteria that I want.
No.
So restart.
Yeah. So it's like how to cope and adjust. Boom. And you just do a quick little how-to. So for us, we did the math. The thing that's really important to do is when you do polling, you need to identify how many students you're polling, and if you can have the questions. Like obviously the math one's pretty easy. We asked them what their favorite math class was, so that worked. And then we tried to talk about the election, and so we had 209 students actually reply to this one. We did SurveyMonkey, but again, look at your student body. Sometimes English teachers like to help each other, or at least in our department. So I know that if I need to do a paper survey, I can be like, hey buddies, can you have your kids do this for like 5 minutes and give it back to me? And then I know that I'm gonna get more kids to do it. Or you want to focus on a specific grade or course to get your information from. You can do that. So these are things that we asked. Do you think RB should talk more or less about current politics? And then we have who would you have voted for? And then these were things, so because we didn't come up with it, we said where we got it from because it wasn't us. I think we did this right. And same with our images, because they were not ours, we said where those came from as well. So just because you can take it off the internet doesn't mean you should. So you have to cite your sources. So we cited those, but the rest of the stuff was ours. And again, these color schemes tied into the theme of last year. We had a different colored arrow for each section.
How are you getting, with your electronic surveys, how are you getting those out to students?
Our school got a subscription to SurveyMonkey. And so with SurveyMonkey, it automatically, you can pick the grades and it'll send it out to the kids. The only challenge is that,
So it's linked to the district emails?
yes.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep. But the other thing that people do, and what we're trying to do a little bit more of, Google Forms is the other thing. You know, what's nice is because we have Chromebooks, everybody has their student email, so we have a way to always contact kids. But you can do a Google form and get the same kind of thing, get the same kind of results. I know the one challenge we have with SurveyMonkey, if your school is small enough, you can do a free account for 100 kids. Or if you know that you only want to ask 100 kids, you could still try a SurveyMonkey and that should be fine. But that's what we found. Okay, so with the polling, like I was saying, you want to try to make sure that you're doing it right, asking the right questions. There's a whole bunch of stuff on that. But do you guys have any questions on the alternative story stuff? Did I help you?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you have some ideas?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Like for our homecoming, because we're a charter school, so we don't have a football team. So we have our grades do football.
We do flag football against the
That's cool.
And
Yeah.
we go against the teachers at the end of it. But before the game, we have like just different competitions. So like I was thinking like we could do our top 5 homecoming games that were like our favorite
What
games.
was your
stuff like
favorite
that.
Yeah.
games this year? We're adding
Yep.
games this year, so that'd be perfect.
Yeah, definitely. Yep, so just asking the kids, and you know, like I said, when we do the quotes and things, we always try to make sure that we get at least one person from every grade. Try to mix it up, don't have it all boys, all girls, try and get a mix.
We usually get 2 from each grade, 1 boy, 1 girl.
Yeah, so the more you ask. So, thanks for coming. Go RB Soccer, we play Antioch tonight.